All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app. Your home smart speaker up on TSN 2 all afternoon. Brian Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
What's up?
What's up? How we feeling?
Doing great. Do you know why?
Why is that?
I'm on a kick, and it's called a fall purge.
Oh, yeah?
I just walk around my house, my garage, my bedroom, my clothes. I take a look at something, and it hasn't been a part of my life in a couple of months. Gone.
Good.
Gone. Everything's gone out of the house.
Good for you.
I'm telling you, you feel better about yourself doing that.
Yeah,
old golf clubs,
best.
old golf shoes, things you say, oh, I might use. No, you're not. You're not going to use it. Get rid of it.
Yeah, I have to do that around the house here because I live with 3 pack rats. Now, 2 of them, it's fine because they're kids. They collect toys, they collect things. The third is just, it's almost like we would be hoarders if it wasn't for me. Literally, hoarders.
I have a similar issue. My problem is that my wife is afraid to allow me to throw stuff out that for some reason I'm going to throw out something that's incredibly valuable. Right? Like I'm some buffoon.
Like
exactly.
The Jewel of the Nile at your house or something?
Like there's some, Da Vinci, something in our house that's going to lead to the whole world changing. And if I get rid of it, then, the future of mankind just will not exist anymore. No. But it's generally toys related. It's like, well, let me just dump all these toys. And she's like, well, if you get rid of certain parts of certain sets, then it's not going to work anymore. I'm like, our kids have not touched this stuff in years, and they're never going to.
And you don't have to throw it in the garbage. You know what you do? You walk it out to the front of front of the driveway. Somebody will scoop that up in an hour.
Yeah, well, I've told you about the toilets, man. We saw that day one of going back to school. We were doing the walk that we haven't done in like 3 months.
People are tossing their toilets on the road.
Yeah.
There was a toilet sitting on the curb side of a guy's house, and it's been there since opening day. Like that was the day after Labor Day. That thing's still cooking. It's like, who do you think at this point is just going to pull up and take that away?
But in the city, supposed to have a.
They are, but the city's like, we don't just drive around looking for toilets that are being disposed.
I dare
you got to call it in.
He needs a lawn maintenance guy to pull a Johnny Knoxville and just have a seat and see how you like that for leaving that there.
Exactly. That's what'll happen. Is some smartass will walk up and lay a deuce in it, and then you're in trouble because now you're going to have a bunch of bees and bugs kicking around there.
Yeah, some drunk guy is going to walk home and say, "That's my property. That is my property."
That is the worst case scenario, and you're right. That's the gamble you take. You put stuff out there. You're right, though. You throw stuff out there that's still got value, that looks good, is in good shape. Yeah, and most neighborhoods have that now with like Facebook or whatever. You have different groups where it's like, have it for nothing, just if you're willing to come by and pick it up. But what I find amazing about that, because again, my household has been a part of it. I never have done it personally, so we know where we're going with this, is this negotiation you have with people. Like we've been trying to get rid of this couch for a while. That's a good couch in good shape. To put it into perspective, when I was in university, if we saw that couch, me and my buddies would run an hour to go get it and drag it all the way home because it was a great couch, right? You have no money, you're looking for whatever you can get your hands on. We've posted this online saying if you want to come get it, you can have it. The amount of people that are like, well, can you ship it to us?
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
It's like, are you nuts? It's a free couch. Like, we're not shipping it to you.
$25,000 couch. And the only way to get rid of it 3 days later is if you pay someone to get it.
Right.
Used furniture is garbage.
It's crazy.
People will be like, if you give me $300, I'll come and take it. What are you talking about?
Literally, that has happened. If you pay for it, then I guess I'd be willing to take it off your hands. And we've had people show up, and this I had to say, I think we got to stop doing that. I don't want people showing up at my house.
No,
I don't need it.
One of them is a murderer or something. You're inviting somebody over to your house that you have no idea, and they'll come and check it out in the basement.
Right.
I had a relative that did that, put a weight set on Craigslist during COVID. People showed up. During COVID, we're locked in our houses. This guy's hauling out weights and stuff. People are walking out. Like strangers are showing up, and I don't never do that online. I know.
I would only meet a guy behind a restaurant in an open parking lot with my brother beside me who's a police officer. That's the only way I'm doing that.
I mean, listen,
behind a restaurant.
I'm not. Yeah, why behind it?
I'm not meeting.
It's not, you're not doing something illegal. Listen, I have faith in people. I'm not living my life expecting something crazy to happen. I just don't need the awkwardness of it. And I've run into situations where you come to an agreement on a price, then they show up and they go, actually, I'm only going to give you $5. You're like, all right, just take it. Like you get shortchanged, and then what are you going to do? You've hauled the thing out of the house. You just want to get rid of it. You're like, fine, take it. What do I care?
Now, on principle, you say, get the hell out of here.
No principle.
You want to see a gong show? Just go and put some ears to a garage sale. People will be like, yeah, the thing's listed for $2. I'll give you 25 cents. That's it. It's just like, what? Just give me $2 and get lost.
Honest to God, like my mom was the queen of garage sales growing up. Like we used to, and my nana, my grandmother, like they used to just scour them and love it. But we used to have one. I tell this story to this day. 2 things that went missing, and this is probably why I have PTSD when it comes to like throwing stuff out, and I do it all the time. I clean house all the time around here. My mom gave away my collection, sold my records. I had like collector's items. Like I used to love the band The Clash. I had like bootlegs of The Clash live. Like I paid $50 for them years ago. They'd be worth a boatload now.
Yep.
Like stuff like that, sold them for like $5. A whole box of, same thing with my hockey cards. My hockey, like Gretzky rookie, all of that, gone.
Oh,
like,
you hear stories like that all the time, Noodles. Like someone sold like a legit green jacket from Augusta, like the Masters. There is on record that 2
at a garage sale.
Yes, or at like a thrift store or something. There are 2 championship jackets, I believe, that have disappeared somehow. 2 former champions, they don't know where they've gone, and one of them was bought for like $5 at a thrift shop. And some guy walked in there, probably a big golf fan, saying, "This is insane. This is legit. This thing's worth
looks like it.
A fortune." And like hockey cards, you're right, famous. Everyone, I remember my uncles always saying that. They're like, "Oh, I had a Bobby Orr rookie. I had this, and it just gone. See you later." But listen, that's the nature of it, right? We're probably going through our house right now and getting rid of toys that our kids have that would be worth a fortune in 30 years. But you're not going to hold on to them. You're not going to keep them. You're not going to preserve them. It's not going to happen.
The thing is that you look at it and you get frustrated and you go, I've bought 400 of these LOL dolls. My daughter walks by them like that. You don't even see them anymore. Well, she's grown out of it. I get it. But I package them up. And obviously, luckily enough, like Steph has friends who have younger children and stuff like that. So you pass it on. And I don't mind. I don't throw it in the garbage.
No,
I like giving it away.
Yeah.
I like giving it away. My neighbor came over the other day, and she has a daughter who's a little bit older than my daughter. Like 20 outfits, like ridiculous. It was amazing. Like I like sharing, but it just the process of sharing is a little bit weird because you go online, now you're sharing with somebody you don't know, and then they're going to show up at your house. I'm uneasy about that.
Yeah, it's a totally different situation when you're welcoming strangers into your house and into your world to buy something for $5. It's probably not worth the risk in the end, but
you have to be like, I don't know what's happened to me. You got to be in my circle of trust to walk in my front door.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I will crack the door open a sliver and say, how's it going? You're not knowing.
You're Ray Finkel's parents.
Yes.
Like, you just
I don't know what it is.
Anybody.
It's just, I don't need to stop and chat. What's up? And
yeah, I hear you, man.
No way.
You know what the Jays need? They need to find a garage sale with some bats. They need to find some offense at a garage sale. That's actually a good bit we should do here. If there was a garage sale throughout the city, what would the sports teams be looking for? Because with the Jays, they have 5 hits over 2 games. They had 2 hits last night. Brandon Bell, who wanted the crowd to get loud. What did we say yesterday? Supply some offense, they'll get loud. He did. He did his part. He's DHing tonight. He's hitting in the 2-hole. Bichette's been pushed back to the cleanup spot.
Dude, I'm nervous, man. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, forget
there,
about playing the garage sale. What about 50 Shades of Underpants? Where would you be at? creeping around nervous.
It's getting there.
It's like, so what? Hang on a sec. So you want to get to the playoffs where every team fires out 2 or 3 of their best pitchers? So that's all you can do against teams' good pitchers? Mm-hmm. Like Schneider after the game, it's like, those are 2 of the best pitchers in the game. Well, most teams that go to the playoffs are tossing something out there like that. Right. It won't exactly be Garrett Cole, but what, you can't get a hit off a good pitcher?
I know.
Insane.
It's incredibly concerning.
So where is it? If we did the 50 Shades of Underpants, where 1 is just clean as a whistle and 50 is 50
dropped
is
in
a mess.
porta potty at a fire festival.
Yeah, I'm at like 16
I'm 37.
with the J.
I'm 37.
37 is some damage. Like,
Hayes, aren't you around 40? 1 to 50?
No,
50 Shades of Underpants?
I don't even know how to answer this. I'm trying to put this into perspective. I don't know, man.
It's basically
20s.
a different variety of level of concern.
Yes,
it's 50
right.
shades.
Certainly is.
I'm at 37 for what I'm seeing.
37. You let things go.
That's dark, man. There's a tint. There is
those are going
bleach
into
in your
garbage.
future. Yeah, that's either garbage or bleaching for like a full weekend.
Oh, it's fully garbage. It's tossed in the garbage because I'm concerned. I think 37 out of 50 on the 50 Shades is concerning.
Well,
I'm getting concerned.
What could 50 possibly be? Like, what is happening in the sports world? The Tampa Bay Lightning might be pushing up on 50.
With Vasilevsky out for 2 months,
Yes.
that might be a 50. It could be a 47, like just under.
They're probably in the low to mid 40s because they have confidence
It's a
in their team.
42 for the first couple months, right? And then they're getting him back.
Yeah. Well, and then there's still no guarantees, right? Because there's going to be load management. He's coming off a bad back. He's going to miss preseason, miss a lot. We'll get to that in just a moment. But for the Jays, I'm in the high 20s because they can still actually make this work for them by backdooring in and playing Minnesota, right? Then you're on that side of the bracket. You're going to play Minnesota, then probably Texas if you get through. But it's also so predictable that this is what would happen, right? Like, of course, they're going to make it difficult on themselves. They've done it all year. Yeah. They're still going to get in. I believe that. I can't say that with 100% authority because you never know in sports and you never know with this team. But it seems incredibly predictable that they would make it difficult on themselves. And it would be the offense that would dry up. Right? 5 hits in 2 games against a team that's dead in the water is crazy. And I know King was great. Cole was outstanding. And he's been the best pitcher in baseball this year.
Dude,
the guy has been a machine.
He's a monster and a stud.
And
what
owns
a
the
treat.
Jays.
What a treat for anyone in that organization to watch. Like, that guy's on the mound. I'm going to the game.
Yes.
Like, I want to go watch that guy play. That guy is a machine.
Yeah. He is a machine. But listen, the Jays... You got Weaver on the mound tonight, a relatively unknown arm. If the offense continues to struggle tonight, then the shades will go up with every out, right? There's 27 outs in the game tonight. I'm 50 minus 27. All right, so what does that make me? I'm 23. I'm 23 on the 50 Shades of Underpants, but with every out that they don't produce offense, it goes up.
If they win, are you putting on a fresh, crisp white pair of boxers?
Yes, I'm willing to do that. I think a win tonight diffuses a lot, right? A win tonight puts you obviously in a better position statistically in terms of the records. Houston is off tonight, and Houston's got a tough track coming. They got to go to Arizona. Arizona's playing really well, and Arizona's fighting for their lives, right? So Arizona's got to win ball games. It will not be easy for Houston. And Seattle, Texas, they start a 4-game series tonight, which, someone's got to lose.
Isn't that crazy how it all comes down to them playing each other? Like how that karma kind of lines itself at the end of a season. It's like 162 in the last 4 against you, and we're both fighting for the same thing, and it's all on the line.
It's incredible.
I think it's fantastic.
I think it's great. I think it is. And even the Jays against Tampa, that could be a precursor of what we're going to see early next week. So Keegan Matheson will join us from the park in about 15 minutes. A lot of people are tweeting in, pointing out the 50th shade is that Delta airline flight, right? That's 50.
That's 57, dude.
If you're going up and down a flight and you are leading it to turn around halfway across the ocean, that's the 50th shade, without question. But I'll tell you what, Tampa, This is pro sports in a nutshell. You can never predict what's going to happen. And Andrei Vasilevsky, their superstar goaltender, he's had back surgery. He's out for, they're saying about 2 months, but that's never a guarantee either, right? When you're talking about an injury this substantial, these are the kind of injuries, and I'm not calling for it. I'm rooting for the guy. He's an unbelievable player.
You're not Joe from the bridge.
No, this isn't about, hey, this could help everyone else in the division, although there is a reality that they are weaker today, clearly, through at least 20, 25 games. But these are the kind of injuries I find that it's like, he's not ready yet. He's not ready. Hey, what's going on with that guy? Like, it feels like it wouldn't be shocking if it was more than the 2 months that they're predicting.
Did he get injured or something? Because I just saw a post on Twitter. It's like Vasilevsky, although I think the post did say he's with the non-game group again today. So he must have had some discomfort and said, I just got to go test this out. Then had it looked at and said, lights out.
Something happened in August.
The statement said that it was in August that he had tweaked something and they just were going to let it heal on its own. And then they decided to go the other route. So I don't know what that is, if it's a slip disc or whatever. I'm not privy to that information. But anytime back, groin, hip, knee with goalies, like it's lower body, right? Like and well, that's not lower body technically, but you know what I mean. Like that's your base and your core. Yep. It's core, and it's concerning. But that being said, we'll see what they do. More so. If they grab somebody. I don't like their depth anyways.
They've got two goalies that I don't think the average fan has ever heard of before.
Yeah, Jonas Johansson and the other guy, Matt Tompkins, Matt Tompkins is an Edmonton kid, but he's not an NHL goalie. And the other kid that's the guy who gave up 9 to the Leafs with Colorado that night.
Right.
Remember that goalie?
Yeah, Hugo. Right, Hugo something. It's not
Jonas Johansson or whatever.
Johansson gave up 9, but there's a third guy, Hugo. He's from Sweden, I believe. I'm going to mispronounce his last name, but he's on the depth chart down there in Tampa. And yes,
they're going to grab somebody.
They're going to grab someone. They have to. There's a couple of veteran free agents that are still out there. I think Halak's out there. Elliott's still out there. He's got a history there. And not that this is about the Leafs, but it will become about the Leafs. One of Jones or Wall is going on waivers, so. There's a chance Martin Jones, if he goes on waivers and Tampa's still looking for someone, they could claim him. But regardless of who they acquire, and they will, it's really not. It's not going to help that much. Exactly. Like it might be better than what they have today, but still, you're bringing in a goalie that's on waivers for a reason. Like this really opens the door, I think, to possibly like a groundbreaking change in the division because. If he misses 20, 25 games and then comes back and can basically only be a tandem guy because, of where he is in his career, how much he's played the last 3 or 4 years, that puts Tampa in a really precarious position. You already got the Stamkos stuff hanging over them, right, where he's looking for a contract. It just is a really awful way to start the year.
Well, it is, but I always say, like, careful, though. We thought Boston was going to, like going into last season, I think we thought Boston was going to be a big step back type of thing, and then they ended up dominating the league. Like, you just never know.
Yeah, but people think that they're just going to be like, oh, man, we can't win without our goalie, and they're going to mail it in and just go out there.
But it is it's a big blow. It's the best goalie on the planet, arguably. So there you go. Like, he's my guy. But I know people will say Sorkin, Shesterkin, Saros. Like there's a 5-pack of like elite, maybe a little bit more. You throw in Demko, top. If Markstrom can get back there. But Vasilevsky's been the gold standard for years. So yes, that's Carey Price. That's what it is. So it's a big drop off whoever goes in there. So we'll see what the team has too.
Their defense is weaker today than it was a couple of years ago, right? Like they've lost pieces. I don't know.
John Cooper's still the best coach in the league. I still think there's.
They didn't have a good second half last year. I don't know, Noodles. I'm not trying to be the porta potty guy, but
are. You're trying to be the porta potty guy.
I'd be very concerned if I was.
You got a little Joe from the bridge in there.
I'd be.
The cheering with the injury.
The Leafs are getting in regardless of Vasilevsky, in my opinion. Vasilevsky plays 82 straight games. That doesn't have an effect on the Leafs. I think if you're in Ottawa, if you're in Buffalo, if you're in Florida, you're looking at this saying, the door's open. Like Tampa's weaker today, clearly, than they were yesterday in terms of a full season projection.
It just emphasizes the point for a team like the Buffalo Sabres or Ottawa Senators. especially Ottawa with the tough starts the last 2 years, you got the best goalie in the world out for 2 months. Try to put some in the bank.
Yes.
Why don't you?
Yeah.
Because whatever happens to Tampa Bay, the second half of the season that they're going to be charging down the stretch and when they get them back. So you want to slack off and just hand away point. And like I said, Hayes, just because Vasilevsky is not playing, it doesn't mean that they're not going to adjust and kind of play a different way. Mm-hmm. You can't be risky and take puck chances when you don't have Vasilevsky back there. That's why they're aggressive and they make things happen because they know that guy's back there. They'll adjust. They'll play a different way. They have to.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows who's going to be back there? Because of those guys you just mentioned, I don't think they're throwing one of those guys in the net right now.
Well,
no, I mean, there's got to be.
And it's not going to be anyone great.
They're going to have to be. I will say this. The Leafs have a decision to make. I mean, I think Joseph Wall's the guy, but Martin Jones has looked pretty good. Mm-hmm. Like both games that I've watched him play, he's looked pretty sharp, and he had a good season last year. I think he will get plucked, even if it's not Tampa. I think he might get grabbed by somebody else.
I think if that's going to be the case, I'd be calling Tampa and seeing if they want to trade for him, because if they're going to place him on waivers, and again, who knows if that's who they'd have their eye on. But let's say Jones goes on waivers, there's no guarantees he's going to get to Tampa.
Exactly.
Right? Like someone else might grab him first. So if Tampa's somewhat desperate here, it's not that you're going to get a boatload for him. But if you're going to lose him for free anyways, try to get a 7th-round pick. Try to get something.
Right.
Like if you can get some sort of collateral and basically circumvent the system without having to place him on waivers, that might be something I could see Brad Treliving looking into. But, yeah, you're right, they're going to adjust. I'm not betting against them because of who they are and what they've done. They're still the Tampa Bay Lightning. But that's it.
They're weaker today.
I know we're always laughing. Oh, you're being so. I'm just calling. I think this is the most lukewarm take in the history of this show. Without Vasilevsky, that seems to be troublesome. Like, call me a hater, but that seems like a pretty massive injury, more so than anyone else on that team. Hedman included, Point included, Kucherov included. He is the king.
Yeah.
Like he is the ultimate backstop.
Yeah, he's a top, the best goalie in the world. Like, you are weaker today regardless of who you bring in. You're right, that's not a hot take. It's just the truth. But the challenge is, what did they do, in the meantime? And if you're right, if he comes back in a 2-month window, is that a generous 2-month? Or is that being optimistic, saying, we're hoping in 2 months, and does that stretch into 3 or 4? I don't know. But certainly all eyes will be on that organization.
Yep.
And that it just goes to show one injury, how it can change. I mean, we just saw it with Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. The Jets are a top-tier team, and then all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers, and now they've got, Joe from the Bridge on the quarterback.
Yeah, how far off. It's a pretty good comparison when you look at who they have backing up. Right? Now, Vasilevsky's going to return this year. Rodgers is not. I think. But it's pretty similar. Like, it's not far off. Now, again, if he's back for the playoffs and they make it, then it completely resets. But Vasilevsky in that goaltender position. But I would say,
on the Jets, though, who is the Braden Point, Steven Stamkos, Victor Hedman, Kucherov? Those are 4 Hall of Famers.
I hear you, but they were supposed to have a top 5 defense. They haven't. Right, they haven't in New York, and that's Sauce Gardner is the equivalent of Hedman. I don't know.
Nobody's talked about their defense, though.
No
one.
Their defense hasn't played well, but I think that's because of a ripple effect. Now, I don't expect that with Tampa because Tampa's had success because they are Hall of Famers. They are great. The Jets are the Jets, and the second Rodgers went down, they returned to being the Jets. Right? Woe is me, acting like sucks. So Salah's the issue, Wilson's the issue. That's not going to happen in Tampa. But you guys have been in the room when the morale can sink a little bit. This is something that would be, I would think, pretty tangible around the guys. Like, man, Vasilevsky's out. Like, back surgery. Let's see what happens here. All right, so we've got a Thursday nighter tonight at Lambeau. This is going to be a great game. Great way to start week 4. Packers-Lions. We have to determine who gets the pick tonight because I've picked the last 2 Thursday nighters, but it's because we've had multiple games on Monday night. So I'm easy one way or the other. I can pick the game. You guys can pick the game. We've got a Sunday morning game in London, so a lot of action this week for Hayes and Company to continue to storm back. which I anticipate will be happening.
Why do they are they ever going to pull the trigger on a team over there? They always go back there. Just put a team there.
Yeah, they're there the next 3 weeks in a row, I believe. So they're doing 3 weeks. They the new Wembley over there, or where Tottenham plays, I think, was built with like the NFL in mind. So it does seem like that's where it's going. It's just a matter of how far into the future we're talking. 5 years, 10, 20, before they put, I think, multiple teams in Europe, possibly a couple of teams in London, a team in Germany somewhere, maybe a team in France. Because I think they announced they're going to Spain. Is it Spain next year? They're going to Brazil, I think, in the future. Like, they're trying to expand. That's what the NFL, because they basically tapped out in the United States, and they've done so making a fortune, and they will continue to make a fortune. But they're looking at how they can expand beyond the borders of the U.S. So, yeah, that is going to happen.
And are we concerned that Jennifer Hedger's back in the building, too, for the Jays tonight or not?
A little. I saw Hedge earlier. I didn't bring it up because I'm like, I can't. Yeah, I'm concerned for her security, right? Like, there's people that are yelling at Hedge, and, her mentions are like every time you're down there as if it's her fault that they can't hit a beach ball right now, the Jays. But Hedge is back in the house tonight. She will be down at the Dome. So she was doing SportsCenter last night with Keegan Matheson of MLB.com. Keegan will join us. We'll get his take on the lineup changes, maybe his 50 shades, right? Where's he at right now with this team?
Yeah.
Going into the third game of the series against the Yankees, and then the Rays will be in town starting tomorrow night. So Keegan will join us. Luke Wilson still to come. Our boy Mark Masters with an update from Leash Camp. And Don LaGreca. Donnie LaGreca is back on the show. If you're not familiar with Don, we'll make sure you're familiar with him by 6:30. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. OverDrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Jays Yankees tonight. Keegan Matheson will join us here momentarily. Our boy Keegan's been doing TVs down there with Hedge as well. Hedge is down there. I saw her earlier this afternoon. She's in good spirits, right? She's a professional.
She is. She's
a professional. Yeah, and she's just going down there to report on what happens.
And cares less about what does happen. She's like, I got a job to do. Don't care, win or lose. I'm going home happy.
That's right.
See you later.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So you got Luke Weaver versus Chris Bassett tonight. There's really no focus on the Blue Jay pitching, although it hasn't been exactly perfect. Barrios got hit last night. Judge hit 2 home runs last night that were statements.
Huge.
The one he hit was just a monster.
He's so big at the plate.
Yes.
It's freakish. Like, he's such a giant man.
And he's so big that his swing almost looks slow, right? Like, it's not, but he's turning on it perfectly. His mechanics
Why
are
aren't you
perfect.
rolling it in the dirt when he comes to plate? Like Barry Bonds treatment. Go to first. See you later.
It's a very good question. A very good question. Like, remember Chapman was yelling at Schneider earlier in the year when Ohtani was in town? He's like, they only have Ohtani. Who else are we? Although Chapman can't say a peep. He is horrendous right now at the plate. He's killing them. He's hitting 8th tonight. And I'm not sure that should even apply. I get what he does at third base. The guy is hitting lower than the Mendoza line. He's got no pop. He's got no approach. He's killing this team. Killing them. Let's head down to the park. Here's Keegan Matheson of MLB.com. Could you see them avoiding Judge tonight, Keegan? I mean, there really isn't a lot else that should scare you with the Yankees.
Yeah, they should. I think pride is part of that. You don't just want to wave the flag and give the guy a pass, even though it makes a lot of sense. At this point, who else is going to beat you back-to-back? Yeah, Austin Wells had that home run earlier in the series, but this Yankees lineup is not built to string a lot together. And outside of Garrett Cole, who is just a unique human being, I'll say it very politely, and I think was going to give max effort no matter what. This is a team that's out of the playoffs. Other than Aaron Judge, they shouldn't be able to hurt you all that much. And man, oh man, if you aren't going to walk him, pitch on the edges, pitch scared. I don't care how it works because he's that one guy. Like you said, he's the one guy who can ruin a game for you, and they can't afford for that to happen again.
Keegan, we were talking at the beginning of the show. Like, what does it say about these guys? If they're going to continue on to the playoffs, most teams that are putting a team in the playoffs are going to throw a couple stud pitchers at you. Some might have 3. Who knows? But what is it? So if they have there's a good pitcher on the mound, and obviously Garrett Cole's an exception. He's He's going to win the Cy Young this year. The guy's a stud. He's a horse. But you got to be able to hit something. You can't just say, oh, great pitching. That's just what it was.
It's possible to do it, right, guys? There's a better life out there. People have hit Garrett Cole before. He does not have a 0 ERA. None of these guys do. And yes, you have to tip your cap to the pitcher, but eventually you have to put the cap back on your own head and hit them eventually. And that's been an issue for the Blue Jays, and kind of a parallel or a connected issue, guys, has been playing from behind for this team. Hedger and I talked about this on SC last night, just their inability to come back if they get 4 runs down, 3 runs down. They have really struggled with that, guys. They are built to be in a tight game and maybe pull away late. But when you are up against a very good starting pitcher, which is all you see in October, everybody is Garrett Cole in October. If the Blue Jays get down early, that's a real weakness. They're not built to come from behind. They are not built like 2015 and 2016. This is a much different offense. And if you want to play the pitching and defense game, just like if you want to play the defense game in any sport, you've got to keep it low scoring and you've got to keep it tight because you're not going to win that big slugfest.
Are you concerned about Jordan Romano's broken nail? Because he's had a couple rough outings, and now we're into the playoff time and you're going to need him. Are you concerned about him down the stretch here?
Yeah, the timing is not great, and guys, that injury does not sound comfortable at all. I've asked Jordan about it, whether it's a bloody thing or a pain thing. He's downplayed it. He said it's a non-issue. He is still going to get these chances. He's still going to be in these big moments. If his velocity had dipped 3 or 4, maybe I'd be a bit more worried. Ideally for the Blue Jays, you get him in there 1 or 2 more times over these last 4 games, and hopefully for them squelch that worry and you see him pitch well. But for as good as he's been, and he's been very good this season, it's all about timing right now. It's who you are right now. It's who you are for the next couple of weeks. And you can't afford to be risking a game late like that. So I think a perfect scenario is Romano getting in there tonight, even if it's with a pretty big lead, just letting him bounce back, because the timing of those last 2 doesn't make you feel all that confident for a guy who you should be very confident in.
Well, the lineup is out, and there's an adjustment to the order. Brandon Belt will DH tonight. He will hit second. Vladdy third. Bichette will hit cleanup tonight. But what I find interesting is Chapman is down at 8. Varsho is 9. And that's a big part of the issue. Like, Chapman obviously been here now for a couple of years, but was a big acquisition to help this team get over the top. He's been awful, and he's hitting 8th. And Varsho, they gave up a lot of collateral to go get him. He's hitting 9th.
He ain't far behind him.
No, exactly. I mean, quite frankly, I'm not sure Chapman should be playing tonight. I know he's a vet. I know defensively he's so sound. He is awful at the plate. He's killing him at the plate, Keegan. And I'm curious, how much can you even expect out of Chapman and Varsho tonight?
Yeah, this has been ugly lately, guys. And remember April? It feels like a life ago, but Chapman was OPSing over 1,000. Every single game, he had a double into the gap. If he could have frozen time right there and hit free agency, I think he and his agent would have been very happy. But the last 5 months have not been as kind. And he is, we spoke to John Schneider about that 20 minutes ago, and he's really grinding right now and trying to find it. There's been a couple of moments. He had that walk-off hit off the wall here last homestand where you think it's going to happen. But, man, you need to see it. And clearly, some sort of adjustment was made to how he was pitched after April. Everybody sees this guy's the hottest hitter in baseball. Let's adjust how we're pitching him. I guess we haven't seen that adjustment back from Chapman. And when you are trying to adjust on the fly in Major League Baseball in big games, that's tough. You're toast if you're trying to do that.
But it's not on the fly, Keegan. It's 5 months.
It's been a
know
lot
what I
of
mean?
That's the issue, man. You got 4 games left.
Reaching for it and not finding it. Like you guys said, he's coming up in a lot of big spots. The results aren't there. And Varsho behind Chapman, at least if Varsho can get on, which I know has been a challenge, he can create some chaos on the bases, do a little something. But if you're Chapman, you need to be driving the ball. This isn't about sneaking a single through. You need to drive the ball. There's power in there. We haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, it's incredibly concerning that, this is probably predictable. We said this last segment, Keegan, that they're probably still going to get in, yet they're going to make it as difficult as possible. Like, that's basically the story of the Blue Jays in 23. It's like you want to believe then you start to believe, and then reality kicks in that they're always going to be frustrating. And I can't imagine what the vibe will be like down there tonight if they find a way to get swept. If they get swept by New York, it's got to be panic-inducing at that point.
Yeah, that's when it gets real dangerous. The percentages are still in their favor for what those are worth, but a loss tonight makes it a little scary, a little nervous. And you want to go in, guys, with some momentum. You want to be popping champagne for a reason on an exciting night. Right now it's headed towards that kind of quiet New Year's Eve. You spend home alone and just crack a beer at midnight. That's what this feels like. It's not a big drive to the postseason. Well, we're not seeing sellout crowds down here. There was a big crowd in the opener because hot dogs were cheap, but last night was quieter. It doesn't feel like it should feel right now, and that needs to turn around in a hurry because if you are going into a series against the Rays where you really need to win 1 or 2, that's when this is officially a pretty nerve-wracking spot again.
Keegan, have you ever cracked a beer at midnight on New Year's Eve by yourself?
I would never admit to staying up past midnight here on live public radio. But, every once in a while, as a younger man, I was known to, Jeff.
Okay. All right. Cracking beers at midnight all alone. There's nothing wrong with that. No, you're right, though. Worst case scenario is Gosman's got to pitch on Sunday, right? And, really pitch well and go deep into a game. Because if he does that, he's likely out of the wild card. Likely.
That's worst case. You need to wrap this up before Sunday. The Blue Jays have to figure that out. And because then if anyone's dealing with anything, we don't know everything. If George Springer has a sore blank, you get guys a day off. But, man, you need to avoid Gausman on the last day. That's a loss if that happens.
Yep, massively. Well, we'll see what comes of it tonight. What did you make of kind of the attitude and the approach of John Schneider? You mentioned he spoke about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, he greeted us. He said, you know what, the sun did come up today, and it's ideally it comes up tomorrow. We'll see. I think those lineup changes are a sign that the Blue Jays know they need to do something. He said it wasn't all reactionary, but, obviously you can put 2 and 2 together. I don't sense the panic there. This is when veterans should come in handy. I'm looking at Brandon Belt, George Springer. Brandon Belt was pretty much the whole offense last night, if there was anything. But, man, oh, man, it's got to happen now. I know we've been saying that for a few days, but this is the real one.
Yep, for sure. Enjoy it down there, Keegan. We'll do it again soon.
You got it, guys. Take care.
Keegan Matheson, MLB.com, live from the Rogers Center. Jays-Yankees tonight. Luke Weaver on the mound for the Jays. Chris Bassett for the Jays. Luke Weaver for the Yankees. And again, lineup changes tonight. Belt hitting second. Bichette hitting cleanup. You got Dalton Varsho hitting ninth. Matt Chapman hitting eighth. They're trying to find something, and
they
I think
need some production.
I think they have to do that,
going.
though, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's great that you want Springer and DeBow and Vladdy, and you want to believe in all these guys. You don't have time for that. You got 4 games left. Who's hitting? Who do you think can produce? Put them in the lineup, and it'll be a fascinating story. I'm looking at Chapman in particular. He owes this team something at the plate.
Yeah, wouldn't you think? And I know he's a veteran player. You mentioned that, but don't you go to him and say, "Look, man, we need something out of here. We just got to put somebody else in there." I don't know who the hell is that going to be. Biggio. I don't know who the hell's going to play.
Probably, which is not
it's just
great,
like you have to perform in the next 2 games, or we just got to go to someone else. We're out of time.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And going down with your vets like that, I'm sorry, that's not fair to everyone else in the clubhouse. There's no time for it. It doesn't mean you reset, take a day off, and then you're back there for the wild card if you get there. It's a different story. But if he goes, 0 for 4 tonight and just looks lost, I'm sorry. You can't just continue to feed him to the Lions. Like, it's almost a mercy pull. Chapman's numbers have been so bad for a long time now. Right? Again, This is not just a week. This isn't an overreaction because of a series. Guys' numbers are staggering how bad they are, and they've been like that for a long time. All right, Luke Wilson coming up. Luke will be in studio at 5. We got Packers, Lions tonight. I think it's going to have to be my game. The Grappler brought this up, that in terms of it going back and forth.
What do you mean? It's one of the. You don't just say it's my game.
Well, but the point being is, by the end of the year, we want equal amount of picks, right? Like you pick 50 games, I pick 50 games, where there might be an imbalance if we. Listen, I'm cool. I don't care one way or the other. If you guys are adamant that you really want this game, you guys are not seeing the board well at all.
Tell me who they're playing, and then I'll.
It's Packers Lions, and I think the Lions are favored. Is it 2.5 now on FanDuel? It was 1.5 for the longest
Okay,
time. But
your
I think
game.
It got
Go
bet
ahead
up.
and take it. Go ahead and take it.
I think it might be 2.5 now. But anyway, all right, we'll figure that out. Okay, it is 2.5. Lions 2.5. Okay, all right. More on that coming up with Luke. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Luke Wilson will join us in about 10 minutes. Packers, Lions kicking off week 4 in the NFL. Jays, Yankees tonight. It's going to be a great night. Leafs are off. They won yesterday down in St. Thomas. And saw our boy Jonas post something. And admittedly, I'm going to sewer Jonas here a little bit because I don't think he comes up with the actual titles of his articles, right? It's usually the editor that does that.
Yeah.
But he tweeted out a few hours ago that it's one of the cushiest jobs in hockey. Can Tyler Bertuzzi nail down a spot next to Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews?
Wrong.
I don't think it's cushy at all.
You don't
Not
score
at all.
your
That's a
gun
high
in 2
pressure
games.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so if something goes wrong with Matthews, it's like, what's Bertuzzi's problem, right? Talk to Bunting about that. The guy was on the 4th line because it wasn't so cushy. I think it's a nerve-wracking, pressure-packed, great opportunity.
Trust me, I was only in the wheelhouse, the big dog wheelhouse, for a 3 to 4 year period of time where the coach calls you in and says, left winger struggling, who do you want over there? And then you got to sit with Ron Francis and be like, and I'm like, God, I'm going to sewer this is one of my buddies. And then you're just like, get that guy in there. And then it's just like, but that's what goes on behind the scenes. This guy's not cutting it right now. Who do you want? And if it's always this is why they make the big bucks. It's always about the big dog. And whatever big dog's not doing it, it's somebody else is going to pay the price. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're going to put a Austin Matthews on the 4th line. Somebody's paying the price and shuffling lines to get him going.
Right.
You ever see McDavid's face a couple years ago when he had the guy with the helmet that didn't fit his head? What's it? Pugliarvi skating around, tongue hanging out of his mouth. Couldn't hit water if he was on the edge of a deck. As far as literally, finding the back of that. McDavid would put it on his tee on the back door. Couldn't score. Couldn't play. It was. And the look on McDavid's face would be like, I can't do it. They finally had to drag him off that line. They were force-feeding him up there.
Right.
And, of course, the analytics guys loved him because his numbers were great, but
just
his underlying
that guy
numbers
went ahead of Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah, man, that was a wild draft. We were there. We were watching it.
We were, with the guy on the floor, the mustache, running the show.
Oh, the guy. Yeah, that's right, the guy from Buffalo.
That was
Have
Buffalo.
we ever figured out who it is?
Who the guy was with the Hawaiian shirt and the mustache drinking double rums?
He's a higher up that runs the draft floor. We have to go through the NHL's, I don't know. We got to figure out.
I'll find him. We can't expose it publicly, but I'll send something.
We've
in the
seen
group
him
chat.
since.
Yes,
We've seen him since.
But Pugliarvi went 3rd.
No, he went 4th. Remember, Columbus was going to take him, and they took Dubois instead, which sent shockwaves because it was Dubois. It was supposed to be Matthews, Line, Pugliarvi. That was it all the time, and then it was likely Dubois, and then probably Tkachuk. Was Quinn Hughes in that draft? I can't remember. But it was. It was a mistake, clearly. I mean, that's what happens every single draft. You comb over every draft in NHL history. Someone goes in the top 10 where you're like, that just didn't work. The guy never materialized. And someone right behind him or within a few picks turns into a superstar.
But how about the Stones on Kekalainen for being a Finn and gassing the Finn, saying, I'm taking the centerman from Quebec?
You know who was right after him, though, guys, was Ulevy, Vancouver. That was Jimmy Benning.
That's right. That's
so
right.
at Matthews, Laine, Dubois, Pugliarvi, Ulevy, Tkachuk, Clayton Keller, and Sergachev was at 9. It's Alex Nylander. That's the brother. He's in.
God Almighty!
Charlie McAvoy's at 14.
Right. Yeah.
That Luke Kunin's a player too. Chikrin, Fabro, those are all really good players. Yost went on waivers, I believe, or got traded to where's he? Buffalo now, isn't he? And so, I mean,
a lot
Logan
of Canadian
Brown
teams, though, man. That's the 16 draft, I guess. You got Toronto and then bang, 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 like Edmonton, Vancouver, Calgary,
McAvoy,
Montreal.
15? Are you on
14? Yeah,
but that's where he was rated, right? Like that happened again. Every draft, you can watch a guy and say, "Man, he went in the 2nd round. How'd that happen?" revisionist history is one thing.
Yeah, I'm looking at the second round of it right now. There's Kyrou at 35. There's DeBrincat at 39.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy
Carter Hart.
stuff.
That Ryan Lindgren, he's a good player for the Bruins, I
But
believe.
like
Isn't that the
Kachuk
defenseman?
dropping is the big one. Like he was on that line with Marner and
Dvorak.
Dvorak. That's right.
Dvorak,
That
that's right.
dominated.
London.
Like they didn't lose a game in the playoffs. Didn't lose a game in the Memorial Cup. He's Matthew Kachuk. Like the fact that he went past Edmonton is one thing, but then Vancouver is crazy. And Ulevy was on that London team too. So they were down scouting all the time. Vancouver was scouting them. Like Ulevy was the number one defenseman, I believe, for that team. And then Kachuk was there.
I don't think
they passed on him.
Ulevy is even playing
He's
hockey
not.
right.
He got a PTO, I think. I want to say he got cut. Wasn't he on a PTO in Arizona or something? Pretty sure he got a PTO.
in LA or something.
Anyway,
Well,
the
either way.
fact of the matter is the guy just never materialized. Between him and Puljujärvi, massive, massive mistakes when you had Kachuk sitting on the board. It's
Insane.
I mean, crazy that Edmonton could have had Kachuk. Like you can play that game forever. You can go back over the history of the game and play it a million times. But still, that's the make or break stuff, right? Like something breaks your way, someone drops to you that you didn't think would, or you take a reach on someone and it pans out. The draft is always going to factor into whatever happens with the next 5, 10, 15 years of your franchise. Hour 2 coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.